Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this video, I would like to take a moment of silence to mourn our lost game mode. Hello friends, I am the Worm Keeper, possibly overdressed for the occasion, and today I wanted to talk about the death of Gambit, because I think it has been solidified and Gambit is officially a dead mode. Now, it is no surprise that in the state of the game, I'm sure you've probably watched other videos talking about it, Gambit was literally abandoned on the side of a road to die. And I do believe that that is Bungie's intention with Gambit. For those of y'all who may have missed it, I will briefly cover the Gambit portion of Bungie's state of the game that came out recently, which about the same words. Gambit does not get the playtime. Therefore, we will invest nothing into it. We will be bringing back an old map and never touching it again. And game modes such as Gambit will die. That was basically what they said. But let's talk about it. Let's break it down a little bit further and talk about Gambit and why it's kind of had it coming for a long time. And it's time Bungie did cut the losses with Gambit. Okay. And I know before we go any further, I know there's a lot of you out there who love Gambit. Okay. I see you. I see your comments. I know who you are, and I'm very sorry about Gambit, but I think Gambit was a game mode that was destined to fail from the start. We didn't start content creation until just a little bit earlier this year, but when Gambit first launched, it was a game mode that we kind of right off the bat knew was doomed, right? Bungie hyped it up, blah, 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 but we had a feeling it was doomed. My wife and I, that is, when I say we, we had a feeling it was doomed because the game, it wasn't exactly good. It wasn't exactly great. Now, that's not to be confused with me saying it's not fun. Like, you can have fun in Gambit. You can love Gambits. Okay. Don't let anybody tell you can't love Gambit or tell you that you should hate Gambit, blah, 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 blah. Because no, that's not the case. Like, you like what you like. You love what you love. If you love Gambit, I really want to offer my sincerest condolences because it sucks what Bungie is doing to it. But Bungie, they're leaving it to die, right? When we look at the state of the game that just launched, Bungie, I will break it down a little bit more words, but Bungie basically talked about Gambit being this, pardon me, being a mode that sees very little play. And they've invested a little bit of time and stuff into it in the past, but it doesn't see play. They've had a couple of major shifts in Gambit, and it still doesn't see the play that they would like it to. And because it doesn't see the play that they would like it to, they have no plans for it in the future. And I think that this is their way of saying, hey, it's going to die. Not only is it going to die, it's going to be removed from the game. When I say die, I mean it's going to be cut from the game, because they go on to state that there will no longer be seasonal challenges associated with Gambit. Or, I'm sorry, there won't be as many, I think is what they said. There won't be as many challenges, which I translate to no challenges in regards to Gambit. Now, could this mean that they just remove, like, Crucible specific, Gambit specific, and Strike specific, and and just favor one kind of general ritual playlist challenge or something like that? Maybe, because we know that they're moving away from the 3 rewards that you get independently of one another from Crucible, Gambit, and Strikes, and they're making it so that you can get all 3 of your rewards that would come from each of those 3 in one playlist. So you could do, say, like 9 strikes and get your 3 rewards and not have to play Crucible or Gambit to get your pinnacle/exotic rewards. That could be the case. I don't think it's going to be the case, because if they did that, they would have specifically mentioned that PvP challenges are going away too. And they didn't. They said specifically Gambit challenges are going away, and they said they will not be touching Gambit anytime soon. And I hate saying it, but I think it's about time. Like, Gambit had a good run. I think that Gambit, when it initially launched, was fantastic. We had Gambit Prime all the way back in Season 7 and Season 8, which was, or 6 and 7, I think is actually what it was, 6 and 7, which was fantastic. It was really fun. You had different roles that players could fill. They had the invader role, the moat collector role, the sentry role. Like, you had all these different roles that players could fill, and depending on the armor you wore, it would improve certain benefits you would get. As an invader, if you wore a full set of invader armor, for example, you could lock the enemy's bank, or a full set of the moat collector armor, you could, deposit a giant taken, right? That, like a taken centurion, or centurion, or no, another centurion, like a giant taken boss, basically, is what it was. There were specific roles, and those roles were very, very cool. However, Gambit Prime went away, those roles went away, and Gambit really has not been touched ever since. Like, yeah, we've got some small updates, it's how the envoy system works now, so the players can't just melt the boss instantly, but Gambit widely has been untouched, and it's about time Bungie cut their losses and cut it from the game. And I think that's what they're planning on doing, because Bungie wouldn't just remove a set of challenges from the game and specifically say, hey, we're not getting any more content for a specific game mode, if they plan on keeping it. Now, I could be wrong. They could plan on keeping it forever and just never touching it again. Like, maybe. I don't see that happening though. And I think this is controversial to some of y'all, but I think it's a good thing that they're cutting Gambit from the game, because Gambit is going to go out in a state of, I don't want to say it was bad. They should have cut it a long time ago, but it's going to go out with almost a blaze of glory. Like, it's going to leave the game. It was never awful. If you'd sit down and look at it, the core, like there was one bone to pick I had with Gambit, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but for the most part, Gambit was good. The idea of having two teams challenging each other to collect moats, deposit them faster, you could send over blockers, you could, send over invaders to take moats and stuff like that. Like, the concept was good, and it was there, and it played out fantastic. And I think the reason Gambit gets so much hate right now is just because players are tired of playing on the same maps over and over and over again, literally for years. Since Gambit was introduced 2018, so for 5 years we basically played the same Gambit maps. At one point we had 5 total Gambit maps, right? Bungie axed 2 of them, leaving us with just the 3 that we have now, and we've had 3 for at least 3 years, maybe 4 years, something like that, which is absolutely atrocious. And it does get old. The PvP sandbox is getting stale because it's the same maps. Now, granted, we have more PvP maps, and Bungie does this rotation thing with PvP maps where every day they have, different weights on maps. That's why it feels like some days you'll be playing in PvP and you'll play the same map like 7 times and not play another one of your favorite maps a single time, right? But Gambit doesn't have that. Gambit has 3 maps, randomly selecting each map anytime you load into a Gambit game. And it does get old because, as you'll see in the background here, I think we played the same 3... No, we played the first 2 games on the same map, which was the Mars map, right? That gets old, especially when you've seen it literally every single week for the past at least 3 years. I think it's been 4, but it's at least 3 years. Gambit, outside of the maps, is not horrible. Now, there is one other bone to pick I have with Gambits that really sours the game mode for me, and that is heavy ammo. And heavy ammo is a real challenge for Bungie, because the way I would have it is heavy ammo should not be permitted in Gambit, because nothing is more frustrating than when you're going fast, you're picking up moats, and you get smacked with a xenophage from literally across the map. Like, across the map, they hit you with xenophage and you die. Or you go to invade and you're like, okay, I'm about to do this, and all they do is unload heavy on you, and there's literally nothing you can do. You could pop super, right? And they'll unload heavy on you and you die. That is a major issue. And I think that's the only other thing that Gambit has going against it, because heavy ammo is majorly problematic in Gambit. And Bungie doesn't want to sit and contemplate, how can we fix the issue of heavy ammo in Gambit? Because it's not having the players. Gambit does not have the players to support a change to anything. Gambit does not have the players in general, right? Gambit, I wish I had numbers. I'm sure I could find numbers. I don't have them here, but I'm sure that if we looked up, Gambit would have an absolutely piss poor number of players every week, right? Like, I bet 0.1% of the population plays Gambit weekly. And I bet even less of that 0.1% of players enjoys a Gambit and plays it multiple times a week, outside just the 3 to get the pinnacle or exotic reward, right? It's not a fun game mode, and I share that sentiment. You can have fun in it. Like I said, in this gameplay here, I had fun. It was okay. Definitely not my favorite mode. I'd rather go in PvP, or I'd rather go in PvE and use whatever build I want. And Gambit struggles between the fact that it's a PvP/PvE game, because to be effective, you want to use your PvE loadouts, but your PvE loadouts are not the same as your PvP loadouts, right? So you get this situation where it's like, oh, well, I don't want to invade, you know, where I'm just going to pick up moats. Well, then an invader comes and you don't have anything to feasibly kill the invader, and they have an overshield, so it makes it nigh impossible to kill the invader. It's a feels bad all around. Or you slap on your PvP loadout because, oh man, I can't wait to invade, you know, and yeah, maybe you get to invade 2 times and get 8 kills, you know, which is fantastic. But maybe somebody else on the team says, no, I want to invade, you know, and they jump through the portal first. Like, there's just not a whole lot of fun for any specific player group. Like the specific player group that enjoys Gambit are specifically Gambit enjoyers, and they are a very, very small percentage of the population, because Destiny is, in my opinion, divided into 2 subgroups, right? You got PvE players and you got PvP players. PvE players don't like that they can be ruined in PvP by heavy ammo, or by just somebody who's better than them in general, but specifically heavy ammo. PvP players don't like that they have to go into this game and they get this much PvP time in the game. And really, it's not even that. It's, you know, you go in with heavy and you just wipe the enemy team. Like, that to me is not fun. It is not fun to invade and use heavy ammo to kill everybody. There's no challenge in that. There's no, you know, there's no interest in that, right? It's boring. It's bland. And that's one of the major issues with Gambit. And so Gambit doesn't have a big population. Bungie's letting it go. And I think that Bungie is phasing it out. They're not going to say, yeah, we're going to phase it out and remove it completely right now, because I think that that would be a bad move, especially with how bad state of the game was, even though maybe it wouldn't be a bad move, but we can talk about that later if I remember it. But with them saying that they are removing seasonal challenges for Gambit, that we are getting nothing else for Gambit, like it leads me to believe, it genuinely leads me to believe that they are done with Gambit, and Gambit will at some point be removed from the game, right? Now, here's the silver lining in all this, right? Because Bungie talked heavily in their State of the Game article. They're like, you know, oh, well, you know, we only have a certain number of devs. Paraphrasing here, we only have a certain number of devs, and so if we put resources in one place, we don't have resources to put in another place. If they cut Gambit from the game, how many people would have more time to focus on either PvP or PvE content, right? That's the silver lining here. I don't think it's a lot, because I know there's no dedicated Gambit team. Like, there hasn't been a dedicated Gambit team, and I don't even know how many years, but maybe we could see an increase in PvP content or PvE content if Gambit is cut from the game. Now, again, I'm not saying that Gambit is horrible or awful, but it's time we cut our losses with it. You know, let it, like I said, let it go out in a blaze of glory. It's been fun. You know, the last thing we want to see is a revamp to Gambit that sucks. You know, like, you know, for example, we've seen several updates through to PvP and stuff throughout the years, and PvP and PvE stuff that has sucked, you know. And it's like with Gambit, aside from the map rotation, has never been horrible. It's never been unplayable and disgusting. So let it be removed and go out with its, you know, its reputation and whatnot, you know. And I think that we're long overdue for that, because like I said, the map rotation being so small has already soured players, you know, and players say Gambit's being removed, you know, oh, we're going to celebrate, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's necessarily like celebration worthy, you know, it's not great that it's gone, but it'll be more beneficial to other areas of the game if it does go. But yeah, I do think they're going to get rid of it. I think that phasing out seasonal challenges is the first step in them actually removing Gambit from the game. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on Gambit. I mean, I hate to see it go, but I never played it, man. I played it for this gameplay that you're watching right here, and that's it. I haven't touched it since. You know, I play it a little bit for maybe shaders. You know, I think at the end of the next game, which I don't know if we're going to get to that point, but at the end of the next game, I got Gambit Celadon, which I didn't have apparently. Okay, that's cool. Like, I got another pretty cool looking shader. That's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. But the reality of it is, like, I don't care for Gambit. Most of you watching don't care for Gambit. I know there's some of you. I see your comments. I'm not, you know, I know there's some of you who love Gambit. Okay, I do see your comments and I read them. That's what I'm saying. I know you're not gonna like the sound, you're not gonna like this video, but you know, for the overall health of the game, maybe it's time it goes. You know. Anyways, I want to hear your thoughts, of course, on Gambit. Do you think that Bungie's going to cut it from the game at some point? Do you know? Tell me your reasons why. Do you think that the reasons I gave are pretty valid? You know, them removing seasonal challenges is a first step, and admitting they're not going to do anything else with it. I think those are two pretty big first steps towards removing something from the game. But I want to hear your thoughts on it. Do you like Gambit? Do you hate Gambit? All that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Of course, if you liked the video or if you found it informative or a deep thinking video, drop a like. It helps out the channel a lot. Of course, subscribe for more daily Destiny content, and do me a favor, watch the videos that you see on the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you will like them. Guys, I will see y'all in the next one.